You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey there, General Hospital fans. We're going to dive into juicy spoilers ahead for the next few months on the ABC soap, including how Michael Corinthos exits, who else Cyrus Renault plans to kill, and what happens when Jenz Sidwell decides to relocate to Port Charles. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we plucked out only the best plots that the head writers have leaked for 2025, and we're going to get into it. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. All right, the new head writers, which are really old recycled writers, they already had Corte and Van Atten, offered some tidbits about plots for the year ahead. And one thing I thought was interesting was they said no one is safe. I wonder if that means from death or just bad writing. Some of these spoilers are really interesting. Some are kind of yawn-inducing, and that's why I'm skipping some of them. So here's the good stuff. First off, looks like Sonny Corinthos is considering quitting the mob. Last week, we saw the Teflon Don clutch his chest, and then on the most recent episode, after talking to Alexis, he went to his gym and was in the ring, and then he had a chest clutch moment, and then he collapsed onto the mat in the boxing ring. So the spoiler for Sonny in the 2025 list says he has an existential crisis, which is just a fancy way of saying he questions the meaning of his life. And, you know, a death scare or a near-death scare will do that. The same spoiler says Sonny rethinks his personal and professional choices, and then he makes a big decision about the future. If you remember, Alexis said she can't ask Sonny to get out of the mob, which talking to him was her basically asking him to get out of the mob for the sake of their daughter. She's worried Christina could wind up accused of crimes or on a police watch list because she's running one of his businesses, Charlie's Pub. So definitely looks like we're getting a Sonny health crisis, maybe some heart condition. And then another spoiler says Jason disappoints Sonny. So I wonder if he asks Jason to take over for him, which, you know, Jason's not going to do because he's trying to be a better parent, and he definitely shouldn't do. All right, before we talk about Michael's exit, the second spoiler from the list I want to touch on is Drew and Willow, which I know most of you guys hate. Yet GH is persisting. The 2025 spoiler says Drew doubles down with Willow, and they get into a real relationship. And a bunch of people in Port Charles align against them, say the new spoilers. And two unlikely people work together to try and expose Drew's awfulness to Willow to get her away from him. But she will commit to him because another spoiler says then she later questions that commitment to him later this year. So this week on GH, we're going to see Drew ask Willow to go to DC. Not sure if that's for a short trip for his congressional introduction or if he's asking her to pack and bring the kids and move there to get away from the judgmental eyes of Port Charles. Drew is also facing trouble on other fronts. Curtis keeps antagonizing Drew, and it could turn into a war. Speaking of war, Tracy makes one with Drew on the home front, and it's so bad, he hires lawyer Martin Gray to help fight her. And Alexis isn't happy that Drew wants to move her granddaughter Scout to DC. So if you really hate Drew, you may want to tape your finger to the fast forward button of your remote because the writers have decided he is going to be boiling on the front burner for months to come. All right, the third big spoiler I cannot wait to talk about is Michael Corinthos' exit because it sounds like he might wind up in a life or death situation. The 2025 spoilers say he is not going to take Drew and Willow's affair and what they've done since then lying down. The new info says Michael is ready to fight back, but a shocking act of violence changes all of his plans. So there's a lot of ways to read into that. That could mean Chad Duell's exit happens when Michael is injured. You know, as I said before, since he's leaving, but they're not recasting and they're going to leave it open for him to return, they could, you know, put him into a coma and then pull him off the shelf when and if Chad's ready to return. Sidwell was lurking, and he knows that Sasha is pregnant, and he really hates her mom, Holly. So, Sidwell could come for her. Michael could protect her at great cost to himself. Alternately, the act of violence could be some insane brawl between Drew and Michael over Willow and this betrayal. So, by the way, this week, we've got a couple of days off because of the holiday. But then when we go back into new episodes, Sasha tells Michael she's pregnant. And then another 2025 spoiler says Jason is put in Sasha's path by a request Michael makes of him. And I know a lot of people are wondering if Jason and Sasha wind up together once Michael leaves. So what's funny, Steve Burton, Bradford Anderson, and Chad Duell were talking about this on a podcast recently, and it was pretty funny. Chad said Jason and Sasha are probably getting together because they've been getting scenes together. And then he joked about Michael's two uncles getting with his women, Drew with Willow, Jason with Sasha. And then Chad said Jason should take care of the baby. And Steve said no. He said Jason already raised Michael and he doesn't want to raise another one. So if they go that route, it sure sounds like Burton is not a fan of that plot. But, actors do not get to write the show. Another insane spoiler is that violent, terrible madman Sidwell is relocating to Port Charles, which causes issues for Mayor Laura Spencer. And of course, that could be very problematic because he hates her son, Lucky Spencer, and may want him dead still. Sidwell moves to town and he strikes up this partnership with Lucy Coe. And it seems that she wants to expand deception and she needs more money, more than Sonny's mob money that she already has. So Lucy's partners in deception are not going to like it, but Sidwell is going to buy into the company and Lucy is going to introduce him into Port Charles society. She's going to mainstream this very bad man. All right, the last of the good spoilers to me is the interesting spoilers. It's not good, it's interesting, is about Cyrus Renault. The writers say that this terrible man who killed Dex and Sam has his eye on more victims. They promise we will soon find out Cyrus's motives and who is on his growing hit list. So we just found out this week that another patient died from digitalis before Sam and Dex. And I feel like this might be some poor random woman that Cyrus killed to lay a trail to frame Liz for all the deaths that he has done and that maybe he's planning to do by throwing in someone random. Terry and Portia and the GH lawyer told Liz they dug up this woman and tested her for digitalis, which seems dodgy because her body would have been embalmed. That makes it pretty hard to do testing after the fact, especially not reliably enough, say if it went to court, but it's a soap. So while working to exonerate her, it looks like they are planning Liz and Lucky to get back into a romance. And the spoiler says that Liz may not trust Lucky with her heart. Not just yet, right? But he does. She is someone that he trusts with her life. So sparks fly as they keep looking into Sam's death. But as they are digging, Cyrus could prove a danger for them. And Joss is also in the mix because she goes to extremes to find who killed Dex. And those are the best of the 2025 spoilers.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.